As Javed just walked you through, we have both a blessing and a challenge. The blessing is that over the last few years, a goodly number of seed-funded projects and other research that's been started by the faculty at the CITRIS campuses have moved from a basic idea to proof of concept to some support for funding and for some movement along that path toward actual public use. The challenge is that the resources that we've had historically have supported the front of the chain. It's work to generate the ideas, it's work to provide the seed funding, but we've done relatively less at the back end. Look to support the active core research projects and look to help people and projects move forward to some home in public use. And so as a strategy for CITRIS Healthcare, what we're really hoping to do over the next year is provide a little more balance by keeping what we're doing well at the front end, by continuing to support the work in seed funding and continue to support the work in bringing faculty together, but really enhance the back end so that we have a way of being able to help you find the core funding, help you find the outlets for your work as it continues to develop and as it continues to succeed. So our goal over this next bit is to really drive CITRIS Healthcare so that regardless of where you are on that project chain, regardless of where your work is, that we can offer you something tangible and helpful to move your idea to successful public use. To do that, we're really focusing on 3 specific projects in the next 6 months. A funding initiative that we call the Nextgen Initiative, an incubator program, and CTN testing nodes, the ability at the different campuses to be able to work directly with the telehealth network infrastructure for development and testing. And I'd like to just talk a couple of minutes about each of these for you. The first is the Nextgen Initiative. What we're envisioning is a high-profile funding development effort targeted at corporations that's really focused at bringing in support, both financial and technical, for projects that have made it through seed funding and made it through that first stage of research, but are really looking for that next 2 years of big funding and support to move them towards a public use. We're hoping to offer potential sponsors a variety of options, different ways of supporting different projects, one at a time in clusters. We're looking to create a consistent brand and message for healthcare, so that every time somebody from CITRIS goes out and represents the work that you're doing, that it's done in the same way, it's done with a consistent message, and it's done with a consistent level of quality. An important part of this project for us is focusing on existing projects. So if you've been seed funded in the last few years, if your project is still moving forward, the first place we're looking to try to create opportunities for people are for those projects. At the same time, as we structure the ask that we're going to make to these companies, we're trying to carve out a piece that will always go to seed funding so that we can supplement the seed funding that CITRIS provides with some additional corporate support. So the major thrust, projects that we know already have their proof of concept and have already been through work through CITRIS, and then also increase the amount that we can put in at the beginning of the cycle so that next year we have more projects that we can fund at a seed funding level. Finally, we'd like to focus on bringing partner staff to CITRIS as opposed to committing or asking for faculty time. We know that one of the big drags on you as grant funding comes in is the demands that get made upon you as researchers by funding sources. And what we're hoping to be able to do is pitch our approach to these companies as allowing them the opportunity to spend more time on campus and interact with a larger team rather than thinking about this as something where they have a specific call or a specific right or a specific ask for your individual time. So that's the basic structure of the program that we're looking for. The message we'd like to take to people really has 3 parts. One part, which will be, I think, eerily reminiscent of where Jonah Froelich just was to focus on 5 problems that we think are probably the core of healthcare issues in California. An aging population, large increases in the number of folks that have chronic diseases, At the same time that those two things are happening, we have a shortage, and a much larger impending shortage, of caregivers to provide that care. We have vast disparities in the state in terms of people's understanding, their access to health care, their financial position, and their health status. And we have such great diversity in the state that it's pretty clear that one model is not likely to satisfy all. So those are the problems we're trying to focus on collectively. The way we're trying to focus on them, each of you has developed work that fits, we think, one of 6 strategies. The ability to provide care anywhere, 24/7, at home, in clinics, in hospitals, in your car, on your cell phone. Integration of health and safety, not just talking about monitoring physiological measures, but also the home environment, personal safety, anti-wandering, the whole range of things that we know are part of keeping somebody healthy, but aren't necessarily just that pure clinical slice. Involvement of family and friends. One of the big outcomes of having less formal caregivers is that there are going to need to be many more informal caregivers. Things that doctors do today, nurses will do tomorrow. Things that nurses do today, aides will do tomorrow. And down the chain until things that are done by families today will be shared even greater by families and by the patient themselves. We know that care is going to become more personalized, and the folks who have been working on genetics and genomics know this in a very powerful way. We know it's going to be more data-driven, and we know it's going to be more targeted and in many cases less invasive. And if you think about all the work that happens in CITRIS across those 25 to 27 projects, one or more strategies of these 6 are pretty much always at play in the work that we're doing. So finally, what we want to be able to offer people is, how can you support all of this work, a specific piece of this work, or a specific project within this work? And the way we've hoped to approach it is by first taking everything that we do and putting it in 4 large sets of activities: telemedicine and remote health, sensors and networks, software and services, and material and devices, and be able to describe what the work in general is in each of those areas, and then take each and every one of the projects that have been seed funded, each and every one of the projects that we're supporting at the moment, and being able to present those in the best possible way for people to support either the class as a whole or an individual project. What we'd like to be able to offer to people as part of doing this is that they have the ability to send their staff to CITRIS facilities. We'll create a private website to keep them up to date on the research. We'll update them on projects regularly. When we have events like SCHEME, we'll invite them to join us. We'll look for a small number of very limited time to meet with key faculty members. We'll offer them seats on an advisory board to help guide the program as a whole. We'll give them access to people who are working through our incubator, which we'll talk about in just a moment. And finally, we'll provide some vehicle for public recognition within the work of CITRIS as a whole and within healthcare. So let's shift for just a moment to an incubator. And by way of background, as our projects and the research projects of CITRIS as a whole mature, one of the things we're talking about today is being able to bring more resources to the point where people need the help, which is later in the cycle than the idea generation. And there's already a very good history, particularly among the other institutes for science and innovation like QB3, CalIT2, of developing small-scale incubator programs that can take ideas, provide physical space and some technical support, and help them grow. Citarja Day Hall, the headquarters of CITRIS, has long had space designated for those kinds of activities. So what we have been working on for the past few months and hope to bring to fruition in the very beginning of next year is an incubator program to support promising research efforts, both healthcare and other, within CITRIS. We're looking to, as objectives for the program, to be able to successfully launch new ventures. The program will be available to faculty members, graduate students, and postdocs of the 4 CITRIS campuses. We have a physical facility which is located on the first floor of Citarja Day Hall, which we're currently in design on, and when built out should be able to accommodate 8 individual companies at slightly over 100 square feet for working bench space and administrative space, as well as a common conference and support area for both individual companies' use as well as groups of people. We're looking at the program as something that can operate on a one-year leasing term, so you can come in, you can get established, have everything you need to do that first basic year of operation, and at the end of the first year, decide where and what comes next for your venture, and then finally be able to provide some level of advisory services, ad hoc counseling and referral primarily with a seminar series, so that as people are going through the issues that are involved with their startups, they have an opportunity to ask other people, whether they're faculty or business people, about the issues that are hitting them at that particular point in time. Finally, the third project that we're working on at the moment is creating testing nodes for the California Telehealth Network. CTN is coming online this fall, and one of the big demands for CTN will be how do we create new devices, new technology, new services that can be used over that network and done in an effective way. And we have a lot of faculty across all 4 campuses who are interested in doing that, and what we'd like to be able to create is the opportunity on each campus for people who have devices, for people who have new service ideas, to be able to connect directly to CTN for the testing and for the research and development activity that supports that. We're developing a prototype at Berkeley for Sutarja Day Hall in roughly the same area as the incubator space that provides approximately 400 square feet for a small biowork area, a small electronics and prototyping area, conferencing setup, and the video connection that's structured in a way to look like a physician's office, so that you have the ability to do testing, be able to take the results of your testing and do small-scale work in the room itself, and also be able to take it later back to your laboratory for work. To conclude, we believe we have a strong healthcare program, and that's really the responsibility of everybody in this room who's been doing terrific work. And we've got a lot of projects that right now are moving in a very positive way to complete core research and have a good opportunity at launch. Historically, our strength has been at the early stage, generating the ideas, providing the money to help support proof of concept. Over time, what we need to do is, as those projects mature, we need to create a greater strength at CITRIS in being able to support the later work. How you get core research funds, how you use those funds, how you move towards incubation, how you move towards venture launch. And we believe that the best way to move that in the short term is to really focus on these 3 programs in the next 6 months, bringing up a solid, successful funding development effort, bringing up an incubator program, and bringing up the CTN nodes, starting with Berkeley, and then migrating to the other campuses as we see how effective it is and how well the design works. Let me stop at that point and ask if there are any questions for either Javed or myself. Stunned silence, yes? Ken.
What are the new, I'm sorry, thank you. What are the new capabilities of the CTN network and opportunities for research there?
The best of all possible people to address that, and who is teed up to address it as soon as we're off the break, is the gentleman just to the right of you, David Harry, who's the technical director for CTN, and I know has a number of slides that will go straight at that for you. Other questions? We'll also be available through the remainder of the day. Again, we really would encourage you at lunch to take an opportunity, if you can, to go up to the 4th floor and see the Advanced Imaging Project. We're going to take a short break right now, about 10-15 minutes, and when we return, we have David Harry and Ben Yu to talk about CITRIS infrastructure. Thanks.